This video is sponsored by Connell Guides. To get your hands on the most intelligent study guides on the market for GCSE and A-level English literature, as well as GCSE and A-level history, visit connellguides.com and use code RS15 at checkout for 15% off your order.
Why is Act 5, Scene 3 of William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet a useful part of a play to make some annotations on? Let's find out. What's going on, Revision Squad? DystopiaJunkie here with another GCSE English Literature video for you. In this one, we are going to annotate parts of Act 5, Scene 3 of William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, which is the final scene in the play. As I annotate this scene, I'm going to focus on how it helps to create certain impressions about the play's characters, how it relates to the play's themes, and how it formally works as a piece of drama. As with the other annotation videos I have made, I strongly recommend that you have a copy of the play in front of you, at least 3 different highlighters, and a pen to make notes with. This is the last annotation video I will make for Romeo and Juliet, so if you're after more videos on Shakespeare's play, please do check out the other 33 videos that relate to it in this playlist. If this video helps you out though, please do let me know by giving it a like, writing a comment on it, sharing it around with anybody else who might benefit from watching it, or subscribing to my channel too if you haven't done so already. Okay then, let's get stuck into annotating this scene. So as I said in the video introduction, I'm going to be making annotations that relate to the play's characters, themes and form. In these annotation videos, when I say form, I mean how this extract functions as a piece of drama. That means I will focus on the extract's relation to the overall structure of the play, whether it uses any dramatic devices, what audience responses might be, and so on. Moreover, some annotations might relate to more than one category, so if you see something that is shaded both blue and green for example, that's a hint to know that its comment is about how the extract relates to the play's characters and its themes. Before we get to those annotations though, I'm going to quickly summarise what happens at the start of this scene. We won't be annotating the entire scene in this video, so I will provide some spoken summaries that will plug in any gaps that I might otherwise miss. So, the scene opens with Paris heading to the Capulet tomb so that he may mourn Juliet, who he thinks is dead. At the same time, Romeo is also making his way to the tomb, likewise believing that Juliet is dead because he never got Friar Lawrence's message. Paris spots Romeo entering the tomb and, believing that Romeo is there to disgrace Juliet's grave as a bitter enemy of the Capulets, attempts to apprehend the disconsolate young Romeo. The two men fight under the cover of darkness, and only after Romeo slays his foe does he find out that it is Paris. Romeo then lays Paris in the tomb and turns his attention to Juliet, which is where we begin our annotations. The first thing that jumps out to me is Romeo's question, "Why art thou yet so fair?" which sees him ask why Juliet appears to be so beautiful in death. To me, this could reinforce the impression that Romeo is a romantic and emotionally driven character, rather than a logical one, because he marvels at the fact that Juliet's beauty in death is apparently too good to be true, rather than questioning the fact that it does in fact seem to be too good to be true. In other words, Juliet's radiance should have been a clue to Romeo that she is in fact still alive at this point in the play. Next, I am drawn to Romeo's repetition of the strong modal verb will, which he uses in conjunction with a series of statements in which he states that he is going to stay by and die by Juliet's side. This repetition of will therefore highlights Romeo's devotion to Juliet. Romeo's reference to inauspicious stars grabs my attention. By saying that he wishes to shake the yoke of inauspicious stars, Shakespeare suggests that fate is heavy and burdensome, given that a yoke is a wooden structure attached to beasts of labour so that they may pull ploughs, carts or other heavy objects. Last, I would like to pay attention to the stage directions at the end of this miniature extract. Romeo dies, and then shortly after that, Friar Lawrence, who is hoping to save the day, turns up. Given the friar's poor timing, these stage directions suggest that fate can be cruel or ironic. After Friar Lawrence enters the scene, he and Balthazar, Romeo's personal manservant, have a brief chat outside the tomb, after which the friar enters the tomb and finds the bloody evidence of Romeo's and Paris's battle, as well as their dead bodies. It is immediately after these discoveries that Juliet awakes, which is where we are going to resume our annotations. Indeed, let's look at the opening stage directions, for they add to the arguments that fate is presented as cruel in this play, because Juliet wakes up immediately after her husband's dead body is discovered. If her potion had lasted only a few minutes less, the play's tragic end may have been avoided. The first person Juliet sees when she awakes is Friar Lawrence, who she describes with the adjective comfortable. This adjective evinces the faith that Juliet has placed in the friar, for it suggests that she is at ease in his company and totally trusts that he will help her and Romeo to reunite. Now, in Friar Lawrence's dialogue, there are many examples of caesurae. To me, their frequency suggests that Friar Lawrence is scared by the noises coming from within, perhaps revealing that he is aware that his meddling has crossed several lines when it comes to permissible behaviour. Indeed, when the friar claims that a greater power has ruined their plans, the comparative adjective greater suggests that he has been humbled by fate and that he has been reminded of his relatively lowly place in the grand scheme of things. Continuing with the friar, his simple declarative sentence, "I dare no longer stay," reinforces the impression that he is cowardly. Last, Juliet's bottom line of dialogue is an imperative sentence, a command, and so it suggests that she is an authoritative character in this scene. Once the friar has run away, Juliet is able to more fully see the tragedy of the situation that is in front of her. She is able to see, in other words, that her true love is dead from having consumed some poison. Hoping to die by his side, Juliet kisses Romeo so that she may likewise be killed by the poison that lingers on his lips. After kissing him, she remarks that Romeo's lips are still warm. This allows Shakespeare to emphatically foreground the power of fate and the powerlessness of man, for the warmth on Romeo's lips is a sign that he has only recently died, and serves as a reminder that no matter what Romeo, Juliet, or the friar tried to do, fate was always going to prevent the young lovers from living happily ever after with each other. Hearing that people are approaching, Juliet decides to speed up her death by stabbing herself with Romeo's dagger, which she personifies as happy. Now, this personification would have shocked Shakespeare's original audience, given that they were predominantly religious, and given also that suicide was something that they would have considered to be a sin. Last, I would like to spend a moment thinking about Juliet's act of suicide itself. The act of penetration that causes Juliet's death is, after all, symbolic of her ultimate choice. Juliet would rather be reunited with Romeo in death than live in Verona with her family without him. In other words, romantic love is more important to Juliet than family loyalty is. She has chosen Romeo over her parents. This impression is of course reinforced by how Juliet's act of suicide is caused by stabbing, an act of penetration that symbolises sexual intercourse, made by a dagger, a blatant phallic image, that belongs to Romeo. After Juliet's death, a handful of guards enter the tomb. They first bring Balthazar with them, and later bring in Friar Lawrence too. Seeing that some foul activity has clearly occurred in the tomb, 3 people are dead after all, they decide to get Prince Aeschylus involved. Now, the prince's use of misadventure in his opening line recalls the play's opening prologue, thus affording the structure of Romeo and Juliet a sort of cyclical quality, for it begins and ends with misadventures being acknowledged. When Lady Capulet mentions that the people in Verona's streets are repeatedly crying for Romeo, Juliet and Paris, she suggests that the ramifications of the feud are enormous, given that it has caused mass disarray and panic within Veronese society. Looking for answers, Prince Aeschylus issues a 3-part command. Now, this serves as a reminder of his authoritativeness, whilst also suggesting that he is able to keep a cool head in quite tragic circumstances. Last, I notice once more that caesurae abound in Lord Capulet's dialogue at the bottom of this short extract. To me, they reveal that he is shocked and saddened by Juliet's death, which contrasts nicely with the harsh, careless presentation he is given earlier on in the play. All that rage and bluster and his threats of disownment seem to not have been indicative of his true feelings, after all. Lord Montague then enters the scene. Now, something that really catches my attention is Lord Montague expressing that his wife is dead, something that her grief for Romeo's exile has caused. It is not clear if this death is literal or is instead metaphorical and relates to an intense sadness or depression. But either way, it highlights the importance of familial relationships in Shakespeare's play, for their severance is capable of causing immense distress. Sticking with Lord Montague, his use of the verb conspires grabs my attention. He uses this verb to describe his woe, which therefore sees Shakespeare once again suggest that fate is cruel and manipulative, given that Lord Montague's woes have been caused by the things fate has dictated to happen. Prince Aeschylus tells Lord Montague to look at the 3 dead bodies, which prompts Lord Montague, who is shocked by what he has seen, to question Prince Aeschylus's manners. His question therefore presents Prince Aeschylus as quite an unsympathetic, harsh or didactic character, for he has bluntly shown Lord Montague his son's dead body and has not tried to soften the situation in the slightest. Last, I am drawn to Prince Aeschylus's use of polysyndeton in the second half of this mini-extract. Once again, it sees Shakespeare highlights the prince's authoritativeness because the polysyndeton enables the character to confidently express a long series of commands. In a lengthy speech, Friar Lawrence then explains to Prince Aeschylus exactly what has led to the tragedy before them all in the Capulet tomb. Balthazar corroborates part of the friar's summary by offering the never-delivered letter, and so too does Paris's manservant help to explain what has taken place. Prince Aeschylus seems to be satisfied with what he has heard, and so this is where we will resume our annotations. Once satisfied, Prince Aeschylus then addresses the Capulet and Montague patriarchs. His reference to heaven suggests not only that fate is more powerful than man, but that fate is somewhat didactic, for Prince Aeschylus suggests that it has corrected the errors of the feuding family's ways. Moreover, Prince Aeschylus's use of the determiner all in all are punished sees him group himself alongside the patriarchs, thus reinforcing the impression that fate is more powerful than man, because even Verona's most powerful authority figure, Prince Aeschylus, has been humbled by fate for not effectively ending the feud sooner. Upon hearing the prince's judgment, Lord Capulet asks for Lord Montague's hand. This gesture is symbolic of the feud between their families coming to an end. Moreover, because the feud ending in tragic circumstances recalls the play's opening prologue, the impression that the play's events were predetermined is evoked. And last of all, let's turn our eyes to the final 2 lines of this miniature extract, which are in fact the last 2 lines of dialogue in the whole of the play. As with many of Shakespeare's plays, Romeo and Juliet ends with a rhyming couplet. Shakespeare's original audience would have been familiar with this convention, and so too would they have been familiar with the fact that the closing couplet communicates a core message from the play. In this instance, Shakespeare appears to want to express the fact that Romeo and Juliet was a very tragic play, given that the young lovers lose their lives thanks to the family's feud. Shakespeare may therefore be highlighting the fragility of romantic love, for despite its beauty and importance and power, violence and conflict and perhaps even fate may get in its way. And that is where we're going to end. With just over 24 annotations made, I hope that you now feel more confident when it comes to Act 5 Scene 3 of Romeo and Juliet and how it creates certain impressions about the play's characters, relates to its themes, and works formally as a piece of drama. If I have managed to help you out, please do let me know by liking, commenting, sharing and subscribing. All of that lovely stuff helps me to help even more people out, and so thank you so much in advance for your engagement. I really do appreciate it. And thank you also so much for watching. I hope that you have an awesome rest of the day. If you are studying or revising, please remember to take frequent short breaks, as a burned out student is not a happy or successful student, which is what I think you deserve to be. So notwithstanding the fact that Act 5 Scene 3 is the final scene of Romeo and Juliet, it is a useful part of the play to make annotations on, because within it the themes of conflict, fate and authority come together, We see a possibly hopeful conclusion to the play and the end of the Montague-Capulet feud, and we also see the conclusion of Juliet's journey. She is no longer the obedient little girl she was at the start of the play, but is instead a mature young woman who is able to make her own decisions in life and also in death.